What if computers didn't exist? No phones in your pocket. No internet in your life. No instant information. Everything would be slower. Every calculation done by hand. Every mistake harder to fix. Now think about this. The first computer was not small. It was not fast. And it was not easy to build. But it started with one simple idea. Can a machine think and calculate like a human? In the 1800s, one man asked this question. His name was Charles Babbage. And that question would eventually change the world. Before computers existed, every calculation had to be done by humans. There were no machines to process information automatically. People relied on pen and paper or simple mechanical tools to solve problems. These tools could help with basic calculations, but they were still limited. In many fields such as science, engineering, and navigation, calculations were extremely important. Engineers needed precise numbers to build bridges and machines. Scientists needed accurate data for their research. Navigators needed correct calculations to guide ships across oceans. But there was a problem. Calculations were slow, and mistakes were common. Even a small error could lead to serious consequences. For example, in sea navigation, ships depended on accurate calculations to find their position. If the numbers were wrong, a ship could go in the wrong direction. This could lead to delays, lost cargo, or even dangerous accidents at sea. Because of this, some organizations hired people whose job was to calculate numbers all day. These people were actually called computers. They worked by hand, solving mathematical problems step by step. But even skilled human computers could make mistakes, especially when dealing with long and complex calculations. In business, the situation was similar. All records were kept manually. Workers had to write everything down, calculate totals, and organize information by hand. This process was time-consuming and required a lot of effort. As businesses grew larger, managing information became more difficult. Imagine running a large company without any digital tools. Every number must be written. Every calculation must be checked. Every mistake must be found manually. It was not efficient. As the world became more complex, people began to realize something important. They needed a better solution. They needed a way to calculate faster, with greater accuracy, and with less human error. This growing need created a new question. Could machines do calculations instead of humans? And this question would lead to the birth of the first computer. As the world grew more complex, the limits of manual calculation became clearer. People could calculate numbers by hand, but this method was not enough for the needs of modern society. Science, engineering, navigation, and business all required more advanced and reliable calculations. There were three major problems with manual calculation. The first problem was slow calculations. Humans needed time to solve mathematical problems. Simple calculations could be done quickly, but more complex ones could take hours, days, or even longer. When many calculations were needed, the process became very slow. This limited progress in important fields like science and engineering. The second problem was errors. Even the most careful person could make mistakes. A small error in a long calculation could lead to completely wrong results. In some cases, these mistakes caused serious problems. For example, incorrect calculations could affect building designs or navigation paths. This made manual calculation unreliable. The third problem was complexity. Some calculations were simply too difficult for humans to handle easily. As science advanced, mathematical problems became more complicated. Solving these problems required long and detailed steps. This increased the chance of mistakes and made the process even slower. Because of these challenges, scientists and engineers began asking an important question. Can machines do calculations automatically? At first, this idea seemed very difficult. Machines at that time were simple. They could perform basic tasks, but they were not designed to handle complex thinking or long calculations. However, some inventors believed that machines could be improved. They imagined a device that could follow instructions, process numbers, and produce accurate results without human error. If such a machine could be built, it would solve many problems at once. It could work faster than humans. It could reduce mistakes. And it could handle complex calculations more easily. This idea was the beginning of something new. A new kind of machine that would not just assist humans, but think, calculate, and process information. And soon, one inventor would take the first step toward making this idea real. The story of the first computer begins with a man named Charles Babbage. He was born in 1791 in England and became a mathematician who was deeply interested in numbers and calculations. At that time, many calculations were done by hand, and errors were very common. Babbage found this very frustrating. He believed that machines could do these calculations more accurately than humans. He once said that he wished calculations could be done by steam-powered machines instead of people. This idea led him to design a machine called the difference engine. It was a mechanical device designed to automatically calculate mathematical tables. These tables were used in science, engineering, and navigation. The goal was to reduce human errors and make calculations more reliable. The difference engine was an important idea, but Babbage did not stop there. He later designed a much more advanced machine, called the analytical engine. This machine was far ahead of its time. It was not just a calculator, it was a general-purpose machine that could follow instructions and solve different types of problems. In many ways, the analytical engine was similar to modern computers. It had a memory to store information, a processor to perform calculations, a system to input and output data. Babbage's idea was revolutionary. He imagined a machine that could calculate automatically, without human intervention. During his work, Babbage collaborated with a woman named Ada Lovelace. She is now often called the first computer programmer. Ada understood that Babbage's machine could do more than just calculate numbers. She believed it could follow instructions to process information in different ways. She even wrote what is considered the first algorithm, a set of instructions designed for a machine. However, there was a major problem. Babbage's machines were never fully built. The technology at that time was not advanced enough. The machines required extremely precise parts, and building them was very expensive. As a result, the difference engine and analytical engine remained mostly as designs and partial models. Even though his machines were not completed, Babbage's ideas were incredibly important. They became the foundation for future computers. Many years later, in the 20th century, another important thinker named Alan Turing developed new ideas about computing. He described how machines could follow instructions step by step to solve problems. His concept, known as the Turing machine, helped scientists understand what computers could do. At the same time, technology was improving. Electricity, electronics, and engineering were becoming more advanced. These developments made it possible to build real machines based on the ideas that Babbage had imagined many years earlier. Step by step, the idea of a computing machine was moving closer to reality. From Babbage's early designs to later scientific breakthroughs, the foundation of modern computers was slowly being built. And soon, the first real computer would finally appear. The invention of the first computer did not happen in one moment. It was a long journey with many stages, many experiments, and many failures. Over time, different inventors built on each other's ideas, slowly turning a simple concept into a real machine. The first stage was the development of mechanical computers. In the early 1800s, Charles Babbage designed the difference engine. This machine was built using gears, wheels, and metal parts. It was powered by hand or by steam. The goal was to automatically calculate mathematical tables. Although parts of the machine were built, it was never fully completed. The technology at that time was not advanced enough to produce all the necessary parts with perfect precision. As a result, the machine had limited success. Even so, Babbage's ideas were very important. They showed that machines could be used to perform calculations automatically. After Babbage, other inventors continued working on similar ideas. Mechanical calculating machines improved over time, but they still had limits. They were often large, slow, and difficult to operate. Most importantly, they they could only perform specific types of calculations. To create something more powerful, a new approach was needed. That approach came with the use of electricity. In the early 20th century, engineers began experimenting with electrical devices. These machines used electric signals instead of mechanical parts to process information. This made them much faster and more flexible than earlier machines. During the 1940s, the development of electronic computers became more serious, especially during World War II. Governments needed machines that could quickly perform complex calculations for military purposes, such as calculating trajectories for weapons. This need pushed scientists and engineers to develop more advanced computing machines. One of the most important breakthroughs came with the creation of ENIAC, which stands for Electronic Numerical Integrator and Computer. ENIAC was built in 1945 in the United States by engineers John Mauchly and J. Presper Eckert. It was very different from modern computers. ENIAC was extremely large. It filled an entire room and weighed around 30 tons. It contained thousands of electronic components, including about 18,000 vacuum tubes, along with wires, switches, and panels. It also used a large amount of electricity. Despite its size and complexity, ENIAC was incredibly powerful for its time. It could perform calculations much faster than any human or mechanical machine. Tasks that once took hours or days could now be completed in seconds. However, ENIAC was not perfect. It was difficult to program. Engineers had to manually connect wires and adjust switches to change its instructions. It also produced a lot of heat and required constant maintenance. Even so, it represented a major breakthrough. For the first time, a machine could process information automatically using electronic signals. This was the moment when the idea of a computer truly became reality. ENIAC showed that machines could do more than simple calculations. They could follow instructions, process data, and solve complex problems at high speed. After ENIAC, computers continued to improve. New designs made them smaller, faster, and easier to use. Later computers used transistors instead of vacuum tubes, making them more efficient. Over time, computers became powerful tools used in science, business, and everyday life. But it is important to remember that this progress did not happen quickly. It took more than a century, from Babbage's early ideas in the 1800s to the development of electronic computers in the 1940s. It required many experiments, many failures, and many people working together across different generations. The breakthrough was not just one machine. It was the moment when humans realized that machines could think in a structured way, follow instructions, and process information automatically. And from that moment, the modern digital world began to take shape. After the first electronic computers like ENIAC were created, progress began to move very quickly. What started as large, complex machines used only by scientists soon became one of the most important technologies in human history. At first, computers were mainly used in science and the military. Scientists used them to solve difficult mathematical problems, run experiments, and analyze data. During and after World War II, computers helped calculate trajectories, decode information, and support military planning. These machines could process information much faster than humans, which made them extremely valuable. Soon, businesses also began to see the power of computers. Companies started using computers to manage records, finances, and operations. Tasks that once required many workers and many hours could now be done more quickly and accurately by machines. This increased efficiency and helped businesses grow. Over time, computers became smaller, faster, and more affordable. In the 1970s and 1980s, a major change happened: the development of personal computers. For the first time, computers were not only for governments or large companies. They became available for individuals. People could now use computers at home for work, learning, and entertainment. Then came another revolution: the Internet. With the Internet, computers were no longer isolated machines. They became connected. People could share information, send messages, and communicate instantly across the world. This changed how humans interact, learn, and do business. The impact of computers on society has been enormous. They made automation possible, allowing machines to perform tasks without human effort. They transformed communication, making it faster and more accessible. And they created the digital world we live in today. Now, computers are everywhere. They are in our phones, our homes, our cars, and even in everyday objects. Many people do not even realize how often they use computers throughout the day. What began as a large machine filling an entire room has become a small device that fits in your pocket. The invention of the computer did not just improve life. It completely changed the way humans work, think, and connect with each other. From simple calculations to a global digital network, the journey of the computer has transformed the modern world forever. Today, computers are part of our everyday life. We use them almost all the time, often without even thinking about it. Your smartphone is a computer. The apps you use, the messages you send, the videos you watch, all of them depend on computer technology. From work to entertainment, from learning to communication, computers are everywhere. But when we look back at the beginning of this story, everything started with a simple idea. A man named Charles Babbage imagined a machine that could calculate automatically. He never finished building his machine, but his idea did not disappear. It continued to grow. Step by step, generation by generation, inventors improved that idea. From mechanical machines, to electronic computers like ENIAC, to the powerful devices we use today. This teaches us an important lesson. Innovation does not happen all at once. It builds over time. Each idea leads to another. Each invention improves the last one. And even unfinished ideas can change the future. Now, let's ask you a simple question. What do you use your computer for every day? Do you use it to study? To work? To connect with others? Or to relax and enjoy content? Share your answer in the comments. If you enjoy learning English through real and meaningful stories, like this video, leave your comment below. And subscribe to Invention English for more stories that help you improve your English step by step. Because every modern technology begins with a simple idea and a story worth learning.